All right, so I'm just going to go through this for you to fill in any gaps that you might have. All right, so perfect square numbers. I skip one because we don't ever use one. So 4, 9, 16, 25, 36, 49, 64, 81, 100, and it goes on and on and on. Okay? So these right here are going to be little spots for you to write anything that's going to like trigger your memory for how to do these. Okay? So for these, just make sure you're using the biggest perfect square, otherwise it's not done. All right, so 48, when you're simplifying, so that's this whole first section, is going to be 16 times 3. To make 48, square root of 16 is 4. Radical 25 is on the list already, so you'll just take the square root, so that's going to be 5. 54 is 9 times 6, so 3 radical 6. All right, next section we have even variables. So when you have an even variable, that means the whole thing goes in the first one. So for 20, you're going to do 4 times 5, and the whole x to the 6th will go in the first one. And then when you take the square root, do half of the exponent, 2x to the 3rd, radical 5. Number 2, 32 is 16 times 2, and the whole y squared, so that's going to be 4y radical 2. Okay, this one, 27 is 9 times 3, so 9x to the 10th, so that's going to be 3x to the 5th, radical 3. And then odd variables, same thing except for you're going to have an extra variable in the radical. So for 63, you'll use 9 times 7. And then it's y to the 5th, so I can only do 4 in this one, and then the extra one to make 5 in that one, because you have to do half the exponent. So 3y squared, radical 7y. This one, 75, 25 times 3, and then x squared in the first one, x in the second one. So it's going to be 5x radical 3x. Then 81y to the 9th. 81 is already a perfect square number. If this was even, this exponent, we would just take the square root of the whole thing, but it's odd. So you're going to put the whole 81 in the first one and 8 of the y's, and just the single extra y will go in the second one. So I'll have 9y to the 4th, radical y. All right, now adding and subtracting. So if you have like radicals, you're always going to add them together first or subtract them and then simplify. So this is 3 radical 6 plus 1 radical 6. So that's going to be 4 radical 6. Check the 6, see if you can break that down. You can't, so that is done. All right, 8 radical 12 minus 2 radical 12. So same radical, we can combine those. 8 minus 2 is 6, so 6 radical 12. But always check to see if you can simplify. We can. 12 is 4 times 3, which is 2 radical 3, so you get 12 radical 3. 12 radical 3. All right, unlike radicals, so you're going to have to break these down separately and simplify them to see if you can create like radicals, because you can't add anything that's not like radicals. So 18, you can do 9 times 2. 32 is 16 times 2. Negative 2 times 3, radical 2, plus 5 times 4, radical 2, negative 6 radical 2, plus 20 radical 2. Those are like radicals now, so you can combine those. So 20 minus 6 is 14. This is going to be 14 radical 2. All right, next one. 45, you'll do 9 times 5. 80 is 16 times 5. So 2 times 3, radical 5, minus 7 times 4, radical 5. 6 radical 5 minus 28 radical 5. All right, and then those are like radicals. You can subtract those. So that's going to be negative 22 radical 5. So that's addition and subtraction. Now, multiplication. So if you have separate radicals like this that are just singles, remember multiply everything first and then simplify. So this will be just 3 radical 5 times 10 is 50. 50 you can break into 25 times 2. So 3 times 5 radical 2, which is 15 radical 2. Okay, and then the second one, multiply together first. Negative 2 times 5 is negative 10. Radical 8 times 12 is 96, I think. Yeah, 96. And then 96 you can break into 16 times 6. So negative 10 times 4 radical 6 is negative 40 radical 6. All right, distributive property. So radical 3 times negative 3 radical 5 is just negative 3 radical 15. Radical 3 times 4 is just 4 radical 3. And then check to see if anything can be simplified. It cannot, because those are not like radicals and you can't break them down at all. So you're done there. The next one, radical 5 times radical 10 is radical 50. Radical 5 times radical 2 is negative radical 10. You can break down 50. So 25 times 2. 10 you cannot. So 5 radical 2 minus radical 10, and you're done there. All right. Next one, FOIL. So the binomials. Distribute the first one. Negative 4 radical 2 times radical 2. Negative 4 radical 4. Negative 4 radical 2 times 1 is negative 4 radical 2. 2 times radical 2 is 2 radical 2. 2 times 1, 2. All right, here you can take the square root of 4. So that's negative 4 times 2. You have like radicals in the middle. Negative 4 plus 2 is negative 2. So minus 2 radical 2. And the last one's just a request. Or just bring it down. All right, negative 4 times 2 is negative 8. Minus 2 radical 2 plus 2. And then finally, negative 8 and 2 are like terms. So negative 6 minus 2 radical 2. 2 cannot be broken down anymore. So you're done there. All right. Next one. Negative 3 times negative 5 is positive 15. Negative 3 times negative 5 radical 5 is positive 15 radical 5. Radical 5 times negative 5 is negative 5 radical 5. Then radical 5 times negative 5 radical 5, negative 5 radical 25. All right, so 15, like terms there, 15 minus 5 is 10. So plus 10 radical 5. Minus 5 times 5, because square root of 25 is 5. 15 plus 10 radical 5 minus 25. And then your like terms, 15 minus 25 is negative 10. Negative 10 plus 10 radical 5. 5 cannot be simplified anymore. So you're done there. All right, so that's all your multiplication. And the last thing is rationalize / division / fractions. So what I get in the habit of doing is anything that they're both under a radical, I try to simplify those if I can. Unless you can take the square root of that one right away, then you will. Okay? 6 and 27, you can reduce both by 3. So that's going to be 2. 27 divided by 3 is 9. So radical 2 over 5, radical 9. You can take the square root of 9, which is 3. So 5 times 3. So radical 2 over 15. Next one, the 4 and the 2 we can simplify because they're both outside the radical. So I'm going to make that 2 and 1. So I have 2 over radical 3, basically. And we have to get rid of that radical 3 in the bottom. So do times radical 3 on top and bottom. So 2 radical 3 over radical 9. And what's the square root of 9? 3. So just asking you guys when you're here. And then if you could reduce the 2 and the 3 right here, then you would, but we cannot. Or if you didn't reduce the 4 and the 2 at the beginning, then you would have something to reduce there. Okay? All right, next one. When you have binomials in the denominator, remember you do conjugate pair. So we're going to multiply this by radical 2 plus 3, top and bottom. 14 times radical 2 is 14 radical 2. 14 times 3 is 42. Okay, bottom, FOIL. Radical 2 times radical 2 is radical 4. Radical 2 times 3 is 3 radical 2. Negative 3 times radical 2 is negative 3 radical 2. Negative 3 times positive 3 is negative 9. And then from here, top is 14 radical 2 plus 42. Bottom, we have the square root of 4, which is 2. Positive 3 radical 2 and negative 3 radical 2 cancel. Minus 9. So we have 14 radical 2 plus 42 over 2 minus 9, which is negative 7. And then check to see if all 3 outside pieces will reduce with each other, and they will. 14, 42, and negative 7. So we're going to divide all those by a negative 7. So that'll be negative 2, that'll be negative 6, that'll be 1. So that way we don't have to worry about anything being left on the bottom. So you'll have negative 2 radical 2 minus 6, and that's it. Because it's over a positive 1. So negative 2 radical 2 minus 6. Yikes. I'm write really small for this last one. So conjugate pair for the bottom. So I'm going to zoom in and write small. So it's going to be times 2 minus radical 5. Okay, so the top, 4 times 2 is 8. 4 times negative radical 5 is negative 4 radical 5. Radical 3 times 2 is just 2 radical 3. Radical 3 times radical 5 is negative radical 15. Okay, bottom, 2 times 2 is 4, minus 2 radical 5, plus 2 radical 5, minus radical 25. Holy crap. All right, here, I mean, we don't have any we don't have anything that can combine on the top. So we're going to keep the top the same. 8 minus 4 radical 5 plus 2 radical 3 minus radical 15. and I'm just going to do this, finish it off. So here at the bottom, negative 2 radical 5 and positive 2 radical 5 cancel. Square root of 25 is just 5. So 4 minus 5 is negative 1. So the final answer, because we can divide all those by negative 1, you're basically just changing all the signs. It's going to be negative 8 plus 4 radical 5 minus 2 radical 3 plus radical 15. I'm going to rewrite that over on this side. Okay, so here, I'll rewrite what the answer is over here. Negative 8 plus 4 radical 5 minus 2 radical 3 plus radical 15. This is your final answer.